Hey guys, I know it's been a really long time since I have done a video. Part of the reason is because I don't have any fancy editing software, so I pretty much have to do everything in one go. And then also, we have a really packed house, and I really haven't had the opportunity to find a quiet spot to do the videos. But I've been watching a lot of other moms over the last year and a half, and really, I guess it doesn't matter if you don't have a spot. But my one sister that lives here is typically not here very much anymore because she has a boyfriend, so I can use her room if I need to, which is actually where I'm at right now. She is a LuLaRoe consultant, but I think she's slowly transitioning out of that and moving on to bigger and better things. But anyhow, I'm hoping that my subscribers will increase, and as the subscribers increase, then I will have a specific day of the week that I will upload videos. But I do work full-time outside the home, so right now it'll just be when I have a chance to do it. I thought maybe today I could share the birth story of my oldest son, and then I'll do separate videos for my other two kids as well. Now my oldest son will actually be 14 the day after Christmas. His name is Ethan. My husband and I tried to get pregnant with him for a little over 2 years, and then we got pregnant and almost immediately lost the baby. So we had decided, well, why don't we take a vacation just for the two of us? We'll do like that, baby moon vacation, whatever it's called. And we'll go to Vegas, and then once we get back, then we'll start trying again. And we had planned on taking the Vegas trip like a few months out. So we were going to give trying for a baby a rest for probably 6 months or so. I ended up pregnant about 7 weeks later, which that's how we have our son Ethan. The pregnancy was actually pretty easy. I did develop mild preeclampsia at the end of the pregnancy, and I was working full-time as a manager at Burger King, and because I had experienced so much swelling in my legs and feet, the doctor put me on bed rest. I think it's about a week and a half or so before Christmas, so I actually had that time. She said that I could ride in one of those motorized Amigo scooters at the store if I wanted to go Christmas shopping, but other than that, the only time to be on my feet was to take a shower, and then if I could not get somebody else to cook because nobody else was home, then to make a quick meal. But it was nice because my stepdaughter has always lived with us full time, so I was able to spend the time with her before Christmas. She was 9 turning 10, so it was nice to have that time. And then on Christmas morning, we had got up at 8 in the morning. I had a hard time sleeping, which I typically at that time did not have a hard time sleeping. You could run a marching band through my room and I'd never wake up. I actually woke up 3 or 4 times and tossed and turned, couldn't get back to sleep. And then around 8:30 in the morning, which I was used to working overnight, so I wasn't getting home until 4 in the morning, not getting to sleep until 6 in the morning. So to get up to start the day 8 in the morning was really out of my realm. I had adjusted my schedule and fixed it a little bit because I had been off for that week and a half prior, but I still was up until 1 or 2 in the morning. Definitely not getting up at 8 in the morning. My mother-in-law had lived with us at the time too, so between my husband and my mother-in-law, they would let me sleep and they would take care of my stepdaughter, so I didn't have to wake up super early. But anyhow, we had started, I don't know why, but ever since I had moved in with them, we would dole out the presents in little piles for each person, and then they would open the presents all together at one time, rather than passing one present to this person and then they open it, and then as they're opening it, pass present to the next person. And it kind of gave us a chance to focus on each person as they're opening their gifts because they have their pile. Anyhow, we had just almost finished passing out, or my daughter had almost finished passing all the presents out, and I was like, I haven't had any issues this whole pregnancy, but I wonder if I just peed myself. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And so I just sat there for a couple minutes thinking to myself, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's what this is, but I'm not sure. So then I stood up and I was like, well, I don't think this is pee, but I'm going to make my way to the bathroom. And so I told my husband, I was like, I think my water just broke, but I'm not sure. And he's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm not like having any contractions and it's not like a huge flood, so I don't know for certain. So he's like, well, go to the bathroom, sit on the toilet, I'll call your mom, we'll figure out what to do, because at that time we lived like 40 minutes or so from the hospital. And that was before I became kind of crunchy. So we followed almost all the advice that the doctors had given us and followed most of what they told us to do. But took us a long time to get a hold of my mom because she's not a morning person either, or she wasn't at that time. She is kind of now. And then my husband called my grandpa after we got a hold of my mom, and he told him, don't rush down, because my grandpa lives about 35-40 minutes from us. Don't rush down here, but we're pretty sure that Becky's water broke and she's not contracting, so it's going to take a while before we actually leave to go to the hospital. Like I said, my grandpa lives 35 to 40 minutes away, and we told him to meet us at my parents' house because we were going to bring my daughter over there if she wanted to come, or she could stay with my mother-in-law at our house, whatever she had decided. But my grandpa was like, oh, okay, no problem. Mind you, he still had to get ready. And my uncle lives with him, so my uncle had to get ready too. They made it down to my mom's house in less than 30 minutes. And this is December, so in Michigan, there's usually snow. Not a whole lot around Christmas, but there usually is snow, or at least the roads are a bit slick, especially that early in the morning, because the sun really hasn't come out. But so we had waited a few hours because I'm like, not a whole lot's going on. And when my husband and I finally got in the car, he had been joking about how a few weeks prior to that, he was joking about how when his oldest sister got pregnant, his dad just like fell out on the bed, and he's like, I can't do this, because that was his oldest daughter. And he was like, I can't believe my baby's having a baby. And he used to make fun of his dad for it. He thought it was hilarious because his dad had 5 kids, and now all of a sudden he just can't do this because it's his oldest daughter. His oldest child, period. But as we're driving to my parents' house, which was back roads to get there, my husband's like, I need some of that out there. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, there's woods, some snow, and ice. Like, what does he need? And he's like, really, I need some of that out there. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't know, I just need some of that out there. And I'm like, do you mean air? And he's like, yes, that. I'm like, roll your window down. And he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how stupid that was. He's like, it just panic all of a sudden hit me. Now I know what my dad felt like. Now, mind you, my husband, of course, has other children, especially if, I said my stepdaughter lives with us, but he has other children aside from that. So this was not his first rodeo. So I thought that was kind of funny. But then we made it to my mom's house, and I grabbed something quick to eat, and we waited a little bit longer because I still wasn't contracting. And by now it was like 11:30 in the morning. So, 3 hours later, and I still wasn't really contracting. I didn't feel anything. So we put down a bunch of towels on the seat. And of course I wore a couple of sanitary napkins, but, and we made our way to the hospital, and we took our time because the roads were a little bit slippery, but not too bad. And I think we got to the hospital around 1:45, 1 o'clock, and we told them, and they said, well, let's go ahead and get you hooked up to a low dose of Pitocin. That's the devil. And we'll see if we can get things going since your water already broke. And things are really, really slow going. They counted from the time that my water broke as active labor until I, had him. And things were very slow going. I think around 22 hours or so, I finally asked for an epidural because I was just exhausted and things were progressing so slow. And I was very reluctant, but I was like, I need some rest. So I got that was after I had already had, I don't remember what it's called, but it was some kind of IV medicine that makes you feel loopy, and I had 2 separate doses of that, and it made me feel loopy, but it didn't help the pain really, so I wasn't resting at all. I think I dozed off like twice for 15 minutes if I was lucky. So a total of 20 to 30 minutes of broken sleep in a 22-hour labor was not ideal. And like I said, I had already had trouble sleeping the night before. So I finally caved and asked for that epidural. I can't remember if it was 22 or 24 hours in. And then when I finally got that epidural, it numbed it dulled the pain a little bit, but it actually numbed my leg, just the one leg. So wherever he put it in my spine, it made the one leg go numb, but it didn't actually numb my stomach, but it dulled the pain enough that I was able to get 45 minutes nap in or whatever. And then I was like, okay, I feel like I got to push. Well, my first baby, I didn't know that I needed to wait until that ring of fire. And they checked me and they were like, yeah, I don't think so. And I was like, well, I guess okay. I just wanted the baby out of me because we were approaching, must have been I got the epidural at 22 hours because we were approaching 24 hours. And I was like, I just want to get this baby out. And it wasn't because I was pregnant. I enjoyed being pregnant. It was because I was in labor for so long. So I waited about 40 minutes or so and I was like, all right, it's go time. So I pushed for almost 2 hours and they were talking about either giving me an episiotomy or prepping the OR. And I'm like, you get one or the other. I'm not being cut twice. So they did the episiotomy and that worked. Well, when my son, every time I would push, the umbilical cord would tighten around his neck. We didn't realize it was around his neck. It was actually around his neck twice. The intern had put her hand or her fingers and she had felt and she's like, oh, I can feel the cord towards his neck. She's like, maybe that's what the issue is. So then they had went for the episiotomy. And just prior to that, they had turned him because he was facing to the side. So they'd turned him and that must have been when the cord wrapped that second time. So when she had felt that and then noticed that my pushes, he would only come just a teeny tiny bit and then go back, which is normal. They go back a little bit, but he wasn't making even half the amount of progress that you normally would with a push. The attending doctor was like, yeah, I think that's what the issue is. Also, let's do that episiotomy. And that's when he finally came out, but he had only gotten his neck out and they cut the cord because he was not coming any further despite how much I pushed. And it was really, I was kind of upset about that because I had just started reading about how leaving the delay the cord clamping and all that. And I had wanted to, even if they would give me 30 seconds after birth, I wanted to try a little bit so he'd get some of that, nutrient dense blood back to him. But in those circumstances, we really couldn't. So I got over that quickly. But when he was born blue. It only took a few more pushes and he was finally out, but he was blue. He wasn't breathing. He wasn't trying to breathe. He wasn't trying to cry. And I had waited a little bit and I had just turned my head to ask my mom and husband why I didn't hear anything because I was really starting to get scared and he started crying. So I was so thankful for that. And then recovery wasn't terrible. I have PCOS and I found out with my second pregnancy because of my sister's research that is why I was not producing enough milk to sustain him. And so we had to supplement with formula, which I was not thrilled about because I knew, even as being somebody that was not crunchy at that time by any means, that was not the best option, but what can you do? I was, which I know pumping is not the most effective way of extracting the milk, but just to give an idea, I would pump and in a 24-hour session, I would get maybe 1.5 ounces total between both sides if I saved it. So that was not enough to sustain him, but I still was pumping and giving it to him and nursing him when he would latch, but he had a hard time latching. And now he is happy and healthy. He does have an eye issue with one eye, and we're not sure if that's related to the cord being wrapped, but it's a possibility. But he can still see out of it, just not very well. But that is the birth story of Ethan. Like I said, recovery went pretty well. From then on, everything was pretty good for us. But anyhow, like I had said earlier, if I end up getting more subscribers, then I will try to have a video posted on a specific day of the week. I just want to make sure that I have the audience for that. So please like and share this video and subscribe, of course. Everyone have a great day.